Hello guys, my name is Prince and this is Smart Center. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. Post your comments and questions on my social media handles and I'll respond to it. We are beginning a new topic today. It's on simultaneous linear equations in two variables. What are the objectives that we look forward to achieving at the end of this topic? At the end of this topic, you should be able to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables. And you should be able to solve word problems involving simultaneous linear equations in two variables. So let's learn more about simultaneous linear equations. Let's consider the following equations. The first one is 3x plus 1 is equal to 5. And the second one is a minus 1 is equal to 5. In the video on Introduction to Linear Equations, we saw that these equations are linear, and we learned how to solve these types of equations. We know that from here, all you need to do in order to find x in the first case or a in the second case is to group like terms and then you simplify. Now, let's look at these equations too. In the same video on Introduction to Linear Equations, we saw that this equation here, 2a plus b is equal to 8, is also a linear equation. We explained that into details. We also saw that 3x minus y is equal to 6 is also a linear equation. But you can see that there's a clear difference between these types of linear equations and these ones. In the first instance here, you can see that there is only one variable in the equation. So in the first case, there is only x. When you look at this equation too, there is only a. But if you consider these equations here, in the first example, there are a and b in the equation. We have two variables. In the second example, there are x and y in the equation. We have two variables. So while you can just group like terms and find x or a in this case, that will be different for this because there are two variables in here. Now, when there are two variables, you are going to need two equations to solve for the variables. So you can see that from here, there is only one variable. So you need just one equation to solve. In the same way, when you come here, there's only one variable. So you need just one equation to solve it. But when you consider this, there are two variables, a and b. So in order to find a and b, you are going to need two equations. So you will need another equation to solve it. So for example, if you have 2a plus b is equal to 8, you will need another equation like a plus b is equal to negative 3 in order to find a and b. In the same way, in this example too, you will need another equation in order to find x and y. So let's say the other equation is minus 2x plus y is equal to 10. Now, we have two variables. We have two equations, so we can solve them. Here too, we have two variables. We have two equations, so you can solve them. Now, if you have two equations like this, you are going to solve the two equations simultaneously. Simultaneous is an English word and it means things that are happening together or at the same time. The two things are happening together or at the same time. Because we have these two equations and two variables, we are going to solve them at the same time. That is why we say that you are solving them simultaneously. In the same way, we have two equations and two variables here. We are going to solve the two equations at the same time. So we say that you are solving the two equations simultaneously. So it can be seen clearly from here that the number of variables in the equation determines the number of equations you need in order to find the variables. This is what I mean. Here, you have only one variable, so you need just one equation to solve it. In the same way, here you have only one variable, which is a, so you need just one equation. So with this equation, we can find a. But when you come here, there are two variables, a and b. So you need this equation and another equation so that you can find a and b. In the same way, when you come here, There are two variables, x and y. So you need two equations to solve them. Now, as soon as we have two equations, we say that we are going to solve the two equations at the same time. So we are solving them simultaneously. Let's look at this example. We have this equation, x plus 2y minus z is equal to 2. Now you can see from here that we have three variables, x, y, and z. So in order to find x, y, and z, you are going to need three equations. So you need an equation like maybe 2x plus y plus z is equal to 7 and x minus y minus z is equal to 11. With these three equations, you will solve them at the same time in order to find x, y, and z. So the number of variables in the equation determines the number of equations you need to find the variables in there. In this video, we are going to concern ourselves with simultaneous equations in two variables. So we are going to consider these types. We will not be considering the one with three variables or more. We will just concern ourselves with two variables. I hope this is clear. Now, we are going to learn how to use these methods to solve simultaneous equations in two variables. So we will be considering the elimination method, the substitution method, and the graphical method. Thank you for watching this video on Introduction to Simultaneous Equations in Two Variables. See you in the next video where we will learn how to use the first method, which is the elimination method, to solve simultaneous equations in two variables. Bye-bye. We are on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we learned how to identify a simultaneous linear equation. We also learned about the methods used in solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to learn how to use the elimination method to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables. We have been given 4 examples here. The question tells us to solve for x and y in the following pairs of equations, and we have 4 pairs of equations. We will solve the first one in this video, then we will solve the others in the subsequent videos. So let's consider the first pair of equation. We have 2x plus y is equal to 4 and x plus y is equal to 5. In the previous video, we explained why we need two equations to solve for x and y. Now, when you are given this type of equation to solve, the first thing you need to do is to list the equation in order. So here, as you can see, I listed the first one, 2x plus y is equal to 4, then x plus y is equal to 5. You arrange it like this. So this x falls under x, y falls under y, then the numbers also falls under each other. I'll call the first one equation 1, then I'll call the second one equation 2. Now, we want to eliminate. Eliminate means to cancel out or to make one of the variables 0. To cancel out or to rule out, to make one of the variables 0. So that is our main goal, to make one of the variables 0. The variables are x and y in this equation. In order to do that, what you have to do is to list the coefficient of the variables. To find the coefficient of the variables. The coefficient of x here is 2. The coefficient of x here is 1. The coefficient of y is 1. And the coefficient of y is also 1. So you find the coefficient of the variables in the equation that has been given to you. Now, after you've done that, eliminate or cancel out the variable with that has the same coefficient in both equations. You can see from here that the coefficient of x in the first equation is 2, but the coefficient of x in the second equation is 1. So they don't have the same coefficient. X doesn't have the same coefficient in both equations. But y, on the other hand, has a coefficient of 1 in the first equation and a coefficient of 1 in the second equation. It has the same coefficient in both equations. So here, eliminate y or make y 0. Now, how do you make y 0? Let's look at this. If I have 1 and 1 and I want to make this 0, what do? Do I add or subtract? It's very simple, right? It means you have to subtract because 1 minus 1 will give us 0. If I add, I'm going to get 2. So that is what you do here. Because you have 1 here and 1 here and you want to make it 0, you have to subtract y from y. If you are subtracting y from y, what that means is that we are subtracting one equation from the other. So I'm going to do it this way: equation 1 minus equation 2. You can do it the other way around: equation 2 minus equation 1. It's going to be the same thing. The most important thing is that because we want to eliminate y and they have coefficients of 1, y has coefficient of 1 and 1 in both equations, we have to subtract. So we are going to subtract one equation from the other. Now this is how the subtraction is done. Okay, so this is how the subtraction is done. We take the first part of equation 1, which is 2x. Then we subtract the first part of equation 1, which is x, from it. So 2x minus x. So we've done the first subtraction. Then you come to the second part. The second part in equation 1 is plus 1. We subtract equation 2, the second part of equation 2, from it, so minus y. I hope that is clear. So we take the first part, 2x, we subtract the first part from it, so minus x. You come to the second part, which is plus y. We subtract the second part, which is y, from it, so minus y. Then we have our equal to sign there. We take the last part, which is 4. We subtract the second part of the last part of equation 2, which is 5, from it. So 2x minus x, y minus y, 4 minus 5. I hope that is clear. This means that we are doing this way: equation 1 minus equation 2. So take equation 1 and subtract equation 2 from it. I hope that is clear. Now you can see from here that as soon as we have y minus y, we've taken it out. Y minus y will be 0. So we have eliminated y. That is the meaning. That's the meaning of the elimination method. We have taken out y. We have eliminated y. 2x minus x, from algebra, we know that that is x. Y minus y is 0. So that is out. Now equal to 4 minus 5 will give us minus 1. So we have found x, which is one variable in the equation. The question told us to find both x and y, so we have to find for y. Now in order to find for y, you write one of the equations. So you can either choose equation 1 or equation 2. In this case, I'm choosing equation 2. You can choose equation 1. Any of them will give you the answer. From equation 2, we know that x plus y is equal to 5, because that is equation 2. X plus y is equal to 5. Now, we have found x to be minus 1. So what that means is that wherever we see x, we can put minus 1 there. And when we put minus 1 there, we will now have linear equation with just one variable, so we can find y. Now this is what I mean. We are going to replace x with minus 1 because we have found x to be minus 1. So we are going to have minus 1 plus y is equal to 5. Now you can see that there is only one variable here, which is y, so we can find y. From linear equations, we know that you have to send a minus 1 from this side to the other side. It's negative, so when it goes here, it becomes positive. So y is equal to 5 plus 1, and y will give us 6. So using the elimination method, we have been able to find y to be minus 1. You have been able to find x to be minus 1 and y to be 6. So with these two equations, we solve them simultaneously, and x is equal to minus 1, y is equal to 6. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video, where we will take another question using the elimination method. Bye-bye. We are on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we considered an example on solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the elimination method. in this video, we are going to consider another example. So let's look at the question for this video. We have minus 2x plus 3y is equal to 19 and 2x plus y is equal to 1. So as we did in the previous video, we are going to list our equations in order. Then I'll name the first one as equation 1 and the second one as equation 2. Now we have our equations in order. The next step for us to do is to find the coefficients of the variables in each equation. The coefficient of x in equation 1 is minus 2. The coefficient of x in equation 2 is 2. The coefficient of y in equation 1 is 3. The coefficient of y in equation 2 is 1. Then we have our 19 and 1 here. So you found the coefficient of x and y in both equations. In equation 1, coefficient of x is minus 2. In equation 2, coefficient of x is 2. In equation 1, coefficient of y is 3, and in equation 2, coefficient of y is 1. Now you can see that x has the same coefficient in both equations, minus 2 and 2. So we are concerned with the number, not the sign. So in equation 1, coefficient of x is minus 2. And in equation 2, coefficient of x is 2. So we can eliminate that since they have the same number. But for y, it's 3 here and 1 here. That would be a bit tedious for us. So let's go with the one that has the same coefficient. Now, we have minus 2 and 2, and we want to take them out. We want to make it 0. What do? Do we add or we subtract? Let's look at this. If we do it minus 2 minus 2, that is when we subtract, we are going to have minus 4. That is not what we want, right? But when we add it, that is minus 2 plus 2, that is going to give us 0. So it means that if you want to take minus 2 and 2 out, which is we are taking s out, we will have to add. So we have to add the two equations. In order to take s out, we have to add the two equations. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to add equation 2 to equation 1. So I'm going to say equation 1 plus equation 2. Okay, so how do we do the addition? We take the first part of equation 1, which is minus 2x. Then we add to the first part of equation 1, which is 2x. So minus 2x plus 2x. We move on to the second part, which is 3y. We add it to the second part of equation 2, which is y. So 3y plus y. Then we bring our equal to sign. The third part, which is 19, we add it to the third part of equation 2, which is 1. So we have minus 2x plus 2x, 3y plus y, then 19 plus 1, as we have here. So you can see clearly from here that, as we saw previously, minus 2x and plus 2x will cancel each other out. So this whole thing will become 0. So it's gone. We have eliminated x, or we have cancelled out x. That is the main aim of the elimination method, to cancel out one of the variables. And that is what we have done. So we have achieved our goal because that is gone. 3x plus y will give us 4x. 19 plus 1 will give us 20. We know this from linear equations. What do? We divide both sides by the number attached to the variable. So we divide both sides by 4, and y is going to give us 5. So we have found one variable. Let's look at how to find the other. As we did in the previous video, we said that to find the other variable, you choose any one of the equations. So here I'm choosing equation 2. We know from equation 2 that 2x plus y is equal to 1. So 2x plus y is equal to 1. But we have already found y to be 5. So what this means is that wherever you see y, you can replace it with 5. So we have 2x plus 5 is equal to 1. I hope that is clear. We have replaced y with 5 because we have already found y to be 5. Remember, you can do the same thing to equation 1 and you will still get the same answer. Okay, so this is now a linear equation. So let's solve it. 2x is equal to 1 minus 5. 2x is equal to minus 4. We divide both sides by 2 and x is going to give us minus 2. If you want to know how to solve this linear equation, watch the video on type 1 of linear equations, and this has been explained into details there. So you see we've used the elimination method to find both x and y. So we can say that from this, x is equal to -2 and y is equal to 5. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video where we will solve another simultaneous linear equation using the elimination method. Bye-bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we took an example on solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the elimination method. In this video, we are going to consider another example. The question for this video is x minus 2y is equal to 4 and 2x minus y is equal to -1. And we are supposed to find x and y. So I'm going to list my equations. X minus 2y is equal to 4. I'll call that equation 1. Then 2x minus y is equal to -1. I'll call that equation 2. The next step is to find the coefficient of the variables in each equation. The coefficient of x in equation 1 is 1. The coefficient of x in equation 2 is 2. Coefficient of y in equation 1 is 2. Coefficient of y in equation 2 is 1. Now you can see from here that this is a little bit different from the ones we've been doing, because none of the variables have the same coefficient in both equations. The coefficients are different in all the equations. So what do? If you get a case like this, the first thing you need to do is to choose the variable you want to eliminate. I'm going to choose x, so I would like to eliminate x from the equation. Now, in order to eliminate x, what we know is that x must have the same coefficient in both equations. So we have to achieve that. We have to make sure that s will have the same coefficient in both equations. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep equation 2. In equation 2, you know that the coefficient of x is 2. So I'm going to keep equation 2 and make sure that I get a new equation whose coefficient of x is also 2. So from equation 1, I'll multiply equation 1 by 2. If I multiply equation 1 by 2, I'm going to get 2 times x, which will give me 2x, minus 2y times 2, which will give me minus 4y, 2 times 4, which will give me 8. So I've multiplied equation 1 by 2. Now, if I multiply equation 1 by 2, you see that the new equation that I'm having, the coefficient of x is 2. So with this new equation and equation 2, I can now eliminate x. I hope that is clear. So my new equation that I'm going to solve will be equation 2 and equation 3. So because I want to eliminate x and the coefficient of x here is 2. Coefficient of x here is 2. If I have 2 and 2 and I want to make them 0, I will subtract. I won't add, because 2 minus 2 will give me 0. Now these are the new equations. The new equations are equation 2, which is 2x minus y is equal to -1, and equation 3, which is 2x minus 4y is equal to 8. So if I want to eliminate x, which has the coefficient 2, 2, I will have to subtract. So I'm going to subtract equation 3 from equation 2. So I'll draw this line so that I'll do the subtraction here. So that we do the subtraction as we have been doing it as usual. I'll take the first part of equation 2, which is 2x. Then I'll subtract the first part of equation 2 from it, which is 2x. So 2x minus this side here, which is 2x. Then we move on to the second part of equation 2, which is minus y. I will subtract the second part of equation 2 from it. But take note here, the second part of equation 2 is minus 4y. So this is what is going to happen. this is what is going to happen. Sorry. I'll have minus y minus the second part of equation 2, which is also minus 4y. We know from algebra that if you have minus y minus minus 4y, it becomes minus y plus 4y. I hope that is clear. So we will bring our equal to sign. Then we have minus 1, which is the third part of equation 2, minus the second part of equation 3, which is minus 8. So I hope that is clear. Equation 2 minus equation 3. So you will take the first part of equation 2, 2x, minus the second part of equation 2, which is minus the first part of equation 2, which is 2x. You will take the second part of equation 2, which is minus y, minus the second part of equation 3, which is minus 4y. So minus 4y will give us plus 4y. You take the last part of equation 2, which is minus y 1, minus the last part of equation 3, which is 8. So minus 1 minus 8. So if you do this simplification, you will see that 2x minus 2x will give us 0. So this part is gone. Minus y plus 4y. From algebra, we know that that is 3y is equal to minus 1 minus 8 will give us minus 9. From linear equations, we know that we divide both sides by 3 and y will give us minus 3. So we have found y. How do we find x? You pick any of the equation, then you replace y with minus 3. So I'm going to pick equation 2. From equation 2, we know that x minus 2y is equal to 4. So y will give us minus 3. So wherever you see y, you can replace it with minus 3. So x minus 2y, since this is minus 2 times y, is going to be x minus 2 times minus y is equal to 4. Because minus 2y is the same as minus 2 times y, and y is minus 3. So we have x minus 2 times minus 3 is equal to 4. X minus 2 times minus 3 will give us plus 6. So x plus 6 will give us 4. We group like terms, and x will give us 4 minus 6. X will give us minus 2. So we have been able to find x to be minus 2 and y to be minus 3. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video where we will solve another question using the elimination method. Bye bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we took an example on solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the elimination method. In this video, we are going to take another example on solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the elimination method. So let's look at our question for this video. It's x plus 2y is equal to 4 and 3x minus y is equal to 8. And we are supposed to find x and y. So as we usually do, I'm going to list my equations. So x plus 2y is equal to 4, then 3x minus y is equal to 8. Then from here, you find the coefficient of the variables in both equations. Coefficient of x in equation 1 is 1. Coefficient of x in equation 2 is 3. Coefficient of y in equation 1 is 2. Coefficient of y in equation 2 is 1. Now you can see from here that neither of the variables have the same coefficient in both equations. So you have to choose the variable that you want to eliminate. Now, let's say I want to eliminate y. If I want to eliminate y, I have to make sure that y will have the same coefficient in both equations. I have to make sure that y has the same coefficient in both equations. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep equation 1. Then I'll multiply equation 2 by 2. Now you see, if I multiply equation 2 by 2, coefficient of y here will change to 2. So I'll have coefficient of y in equation 1 to be 2, coefficient of y in equation 2 or 2 in equation 2 to be also 2. Then I can eliminate them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply equation 2 by 2. In doing that, I'll have 2 times 3x, which will give me 6x. 2 times y here, which will give me 2, but because we have the negative, so the negative is there. Then 2 times 8, which will give me 16. So I now have the coefficient of y to be 2. So with this new equation and equation 1, I can eliminate y. So in order to eliminate y, look at something. Coefficient of y here is 2, but the sign is positive. Coefficient of y here is 2, but the sign is negative. If I have positive 2 and negative 2, and I want to eliminate them, what do? I have to add, because if I subtract, I'm going to have 2 minus, this 2 is already minus, so minus 2, and that was going to give me positive 4. But if I add them, I'm going to have 2 minus 2, which will give me 0. So this means that if I want to eliminate y, because 2 here is positive and 2 here is negative, I'll have to add the two equations. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to add equation 1 to the new equation. Remember, don't add it to the old equation 2. Add it to the new equation that we formed, and that new equation is equation 3. So I'm going to add equation 1 to equation 2. Now, in adding equation 1 to equation 2, so this is my equation 1 and this is my equation 2. So that was going to give me x plus 6x. So the first part of equation 1 plus the first part of equation 3. Then the second part of equation 1, which is 2y, plus the second part of equation 3, which is minus 2y. So this is what's going to happen. Sorry. So I'm going to have 2y plus minus 2y. We know from algebra that if you have 2y plus minus 2y is the same as 2y minus 2y. And 2y minus 2y is going to give us 0. So it means that this one is going to cancel out. So we are going to have, now because 2y minus 2y will cancel out, we are going to have x plus 6x is equal to 4 plus 16, because when you come here, you are going to have 4 plus 16. So that is going to give us 20. So 7x is going to give us 20. We know from linear equations that when you get here, you divide through by 7 and x is giving us 20. 20 over 7, sorry. So we have been able to find x to be 20 over 7. How do we find y? We say that you pick any of the equations, any of them. So I picked equation 1. From equation 1, we can say that x plus 2y is equal to 4. Now we know x to be 20 over 7. So wherever you see x, you can replace it with 20 over 7. So we have 20 over 7 plus 2y is equal to 4. So we group like terms. 2y is equal to 4 minus 20 over 7. In the video on fractions, we explained how to perform this fraction, 4 minus 20 over 7. So if you watch that video, you know how to do it. 4 minus 20 over 7 will give us 8 over 7. 4 minus 20 over 7 will give us 8 over 7. So 2y is equal to 8 over 7. We divide both sides by 2, or we multiply 2 by 7. It's also the same thing. If you multiply 2 by 7, it means that you are going to multiply this side by 7. So 7 times 2y is equal to 8 over 7 times 7. 7 will cancel 7. 7 times 2y will give us 14y. 7 cancels 7 to give us 1. 8 times 1 will give us 8. You divide both sides by 14, and y will give us 8 over 14, which is the same as 4 over 7. So we have been able to find x to be 20 over 7 and y to be 4 over 7 using the elimination method. So we've solved about 4 examples using the elimination method. Pick more questions and try to solve it using the elimination method. If you have any problems, interact with me on my social media handles and I'll help you. If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button and subscribe to this video for more videos. See you in the next video where we will solve simultaneous equations using the substitution method. Bye bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we learned how to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the elimination method. In this video, we are going to learn how to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the substitution method. So let's take some questions and see how this is done. Using the substitution method, solve for x and y in the following pairs of equations. We have been given three pairs of equations. We will solve the first one in this video, then we will look at the others in the subsequent videos. So let's take the question for this video. The question given us is 2x plus y is equal to 4 and x plus y is equal to 5. So as usual, I'll call the first one equation 1, then the second one equation 2. Now using the substitution method, this is what you are going to do. In the substitution method, you have to make one of the variables the subject in one equation. Now this is what I mean. The variables in this equation are x and y. So you either make x the subject in equation 1 or you make y the subject in equation 1. You can also make x the subject in equation 1 or you make y the subject in You can also make x the subject in equation 2 or you make y the subject in equation 2. So you make one of the variables the subject in one of the equations. I'm going to choose equation 2. So this is what I'll do. I'll make y the subject in equation 2. In making y the subject in equation 2, what it means is that I want to make y stand alone. So I'll take x from this side and bring it over here. So I'll have y is equal to 5 minus x. Now, I'm going to call this new equation here equation 3. After I've made y the subject in equation 2, I will substitute this new equation into equation 1. So I make y the subject in equation 2, then I will substitute this y is equal to 5 minus x into equation 1. What this means is that wherever I see y in equation 1, I'll replace it with 5 minus x. So from here, I will say that I will substitute equation 3 into equation 1. And in doing that, we know that for equation 1, we have 2x plus y is equal to 4. So this was going to happen. 2x is already there. But y is now 5 minus x. So I'll replace y with 5 minus x. So you have 2x plus, instead of y, is now 5 minus x is equal to 4. So I made y the subject in equation 2. Then I will substitute it into equation 1. Make sure that after you've made y the subject in equation 2, you don't substitute it back into equation 2. You substitute it into the other equation, which is equation 1. And that is exactly what I've done here. From here, we have a linear equation on our hands, so we can solve it. In solving this linear equation, we group like terms and simplify. So we are going to have 2x minus x is equal to 4 minus 5. From here, we can see that x is equal to minus 1. So we have been able to solve for x. The other part is to solve for y. In solving for y, we have formed a new equation called equation 3 where we have y as the subject. So we just substitute y into it. Now remember we said that from equation 3, y is equal to 5 minus x. So we can see from here that y is equal to 5 minus x. But we have now found x to be minus 1. So what this means is that wherever you see x, you can replace it with minus 1. So we are going to have y is equal to 5. Now look at something. X is minus 1, but there is already a minus here. So you are going to have 5 minus minus 1, and that is going to give us 5 plus 1. What is 5 plus 1? 6. So we can say that y is equal to 6. So using the substitution method, we have solved this, and we now have x is equal to minus 1 and y is equal to 6. You can try using the elimination method and see if you get the same answer. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe this video for more videos. Share the link with your friends so that they will also enjoy this video. In the next video, we are going to take another question on simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the substitution method. Bye-bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we took an example on solving questions using the substitution method. In this video, we are going to take another example and we are going to use the substitution method to solve it. So let's look at our question for this video. It's 2x plus 3y. Our question for this video, is negative 2x plus 3y is equal to 19 and 2x plus y is equal to 1. So we are going to learn how to use the substitution method to solve this. As we did in the previous video, we said that in the substitution method, you have to make one of the variables the subject in one of the equations. It's usually simple to make a variable which has the coefficient of 1 the subject. So here, you can see that the variable with the coefficient of 1 is y in equation 2. So I'm going to make y the subject there, since that will be very, very easy for us. So I'll make y the subject in equation 2. So y is equal to 1 minus 2x. It's easy to make a variable that has the coefficient of 1 the subject. So I'm going to make y the subject. So y is equal to 1 minus 2x. I'll call this new equation equation 3. Now this is what I'll do. After you have found this, I'm going to substitute this new equation into equation 1. So we have found y to be 1 minus 2x. We found it from equation 2. I'm going to substitute this new equation into the other equation, which is equation 1. What this means is that wherever I find y in equation 1, I'll replace it with 1 minus 2x. So this is how it's done. You are going to substitute equation 3 into equation 1. So minus 2x is already there since it doesn't contain any y. Then plus 3, but we have y here. Y is now 1 minus 2x. So 3 times 1 minus 2x. Now I'm putting 1 minus 2x into a bracket because we learned from algebra that whenever you have a single term, in this case 3, multiplying a binomial, in this case 1 minus 2x, which is the binomial, you have to put the binomial into a bracket. If you want to understand what a binomial is, please watch the video on algebraic expressions. Binomials are explained there into details. We learned how to multiply binomials. So here, this is what you are going to do. Whenever you have a single term like 3, multiplying a binomial, that is a term, that is an expression with two terms. In this case, the expression 1 minus 2x has two terms, so it's a binomial. You have to put the binomial in a bracket. So you put the binomial in a bracket here. So 3 into bracket 1 minus 2x is equal to 19. From here, it becomes linear equation in one variable. We can solve that. So let's do it. We have minus 2x plus, so you open this bracket. 3 times 1 will give us 3. 3 times minus 2x will give us minus 6x, and this is equal to 19. We group right terms and we simplify. We are going to have minus 2x minus 6x is equal to 19 minus 3. So minus 2x minus 6x is equal to 19 minus 3. This is going to give us minus 8x is equal to 16. We divide both sides by minus 8 and x is giving us 2. So we have been able to find x to be 2. We know that from equation 3, y is equal to 1 minus 2x. But we have now found x to be minus 2. So wherever we see x, we can replace it with minus 2 in order to find y. So y will give us 1 minus 2. Then we have x here, which is multiplying this minus 2. So 1 minus 2 times x, which is now minus 2. Minus 2 times minus 2 will give us positive 4. So 1 plus 4. So y is equal to 1 plus 4 and y is equal to 5. So we have now found x to be minus 2 and y to be 5. Try solving this example with the elimination method and you see that you are going to get the same answer as we did for the substitution method. So you learn both methods and you pick the one that is easier for you. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe to this channel for more videos and share the link with others too. In the next video, we are going to take another example on solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the substitution method. Bye-bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we took a question on solving simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the substitution method. In this video, we are going to take another question and solve it using the substitution method. So let's look at the question for this video. The question for this video is 2x plus y is equal to 2x plus 5y is equal to 11 and 3x plus 4y is equal to 10. So I'll call the first one equation 1 and the second one equation 2. Using the substitution method, we know that we have to make one of the variables the subject in one of the equations. Unfortunately for us, none of the variables has a coefficient of 1, so we can make either one of them the subject. It doesn't matter. So you pick the variable and the equation that you want to make the subject. I'm going to pick equation 1. So I'm going to make x the subject in equation 1. You can choose to make y the subject in equation 2. It doesn't matter. You are going to get the same answer. So I'm going to make s the subject in equation 1. Now to make s the subject in equation 1, we know that equation 1 is 2x plus 5y is equal to 11. So I'll send 5y over here. So I'll have 2x is equal to 11 minus 5y. In making x the subject, I'll divide both sides by 2. So x will give me 11 minus 5y over 2. So I now have this as x. So I've made x the subject in equation 1. Now what do? I will substitute this new x into equation 2. What this means is that whenever I see x in equation 2, I'll replace it with 11 minus 5y divided by 2. All that is clear. I've made x the subject in equation 1. So you go to equation 2 and wherever you see x, you replace it with 11 minus 5y over 2, which is the new x. Okay, so equation 2 is 3x plus 4y is equal to 10. We have now found x to be, from equation 1 to be 11 minus 5y over 2. So I'll replace x with 11 minus 5y over 2. And this is going to give me 3 times x, but x is now 11 minus 5y over 2 plus 4y is equal to 10. So this becomes a linear equation that I'll have to simplify. We know that this is going to give us 3 into brackets 11 minus 5y divided by 2 plus 4y is equal to 10. If you watch the video on fractions, you will know that this 3 is the same as 3 divided by 1. So 3 will multiply the numerator, which is 11 minus 5y. 1 will multiply 2, which will give us 2. 3 is multiplying the numerator, but the numerator is a binomial. So I'm going to put the binomial into the bracket. Once again, if you want to understand binomials, watch the video on algebraic expressions. Binomials were explained into details there. From here, we can easily simplify. I'm going to multiply through by 2. So I'll multiply each term in this equation by 2. If you watch the video on solving linear equations that involves fractions, we said that whenever you have a fraction like this, you multiply through by the LCM. In this case, the only denominator we have, or the only fraction, is 2. So the only fraction is this expression here, and it has its denominator to be 2. The only fraction in this equation is this expression here, which is 3 into brackets 11 minus 5y divided by 2. And the denominator of that fraction is 2. So in order to remove the fractions, you multiply 2 by 2. So you multiply each term by 2. This is the first term, so you multiply it by 2. 4y is the next term, you multiply it by 2. Then the other term is 10. You multiply that one also by 2. So from here, we know that 2 will cancel 2. We are going to get 3 into bracket 11 minus 5y. 2 times 4y will give us 8y, and 2 times 10 will give us 20. Okay, so we open the bracket. 3 times 11 will give us 33. 3 times minus 5y will give us minus 15y. We have our plus 8y is equal to 20. You group like terms and you simplify. We are going to have minus 15y plus 8y is equal to 20 minus 33. Minus 15y plus 8y, from algebra, we know that this is the same as minus 7y is equal to minus 13. So you divide both sides by minus 7. You divide both sides by minus 7, and y is giving us 13 over 7. So we have been able to find y to be 13 over 7. Now we have to find x. We know from equation 3 that x is equal to 11 minus 5y over 2. But we have now found y to be 13 over 7. So we replace every y in this equation with 13 over 7. We have just one y here. So this is going to give us x is equal to 11 minus 5y times 13 over 7, all divided by 2. Now this will give us 11 minus 5 times 13 over 7 will give us 65 over 7. Then all of them divided by 2. So 11 minus 65 over 7 will give us 12 over 7. Now, if you watch the video on fractions, subtraction of fractions, we learned how to do this. Actually, when you get here, you can even do the numerator with your calculator. So just punch 11 minus 65 divided by 7 in your calculator, and you are going to get 12 divided by 7. The whole thing, which is the numerator, divided by 2, so divided by 2. Now, we know that this is the same as 12 divided by 7 times 1 over 2. In fractions, we explained why the division sign changes to multiplication, then 2 changes to 1 over 2. Once again, if you watch the video on multiplication and division of fractions, we explain this into details there. So if you want to really understand these things, you watch the video on algebra, you watch the video on linear equations, you watch the video on fractions. You see that we are using all those principles here. If you want to get the principles, please watch those videos and you understand them into details. This is going to give us 6 over 7. So we have found x to be 6 over 7 and y to be 13 over 7. You can see from this video on simultaneous equations that we apply linear equations, we apply algebra, and we apply fractions. All of these topics have been explained on this channel, so please watch those videos and you get the principles. When you have them, you see that solving simultaneous linear equations becomes very, very easy for you. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In the next video, we are going to learn how to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables using the graphical method. Bye-bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we learned how to use the substitution method to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to learn how to use the graphical method to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables. Let's look at our question for this video. Solve for x and y in x minus 2y is equal to 4 and 2x minus y is equal to minus 1 using the graphical method. So how do we do this? Now, if you want to use the graphical method, this is what you have to do. You are going to draw the graphs of the two equations that have been given to you. Now, this is what I mean. You are going to draw the graph of this equation and this equation on a graph sheet. This is a linear equation, so the graph of this is going to give you a straight line. So if you draw the graph of this equation here, you are going to have a straight line. We know that in drawing a straight line, you need at least 2 points that falls on the line. So if you have, let's say, a point here, and we have another point here, you can draw a straight line. You just join those 2 points. So to help us draw the graph of this equation here, we are going to find 2 points, at least 2 points that falls on the line. I hope that is clear. You are going to find at least 2 points that falls on line, because to draw the graph of a straight line, you need at least 2 points that falls on the line. Now, how are we going to do that? I'm going to assume that, let's say y is equal to 0. So on this line, if y is equal to 0, then I find x. If I'm able to find x, I'll get 1 point that falls on the line. Then I'll do another assumption and find another point. So in the first instance, I'm going to assume that y is equal to 0. If y is equal to 0, what this means is that in this equation, I'll replace y with 0. So I'm going to have x minus 2 times 0 is equal to 4. 2 times 0 is 0, so x will be equal to 4. What this means is that when y is equal to 0, x is equal to 4. So I have found my first coordinate, or my first point, which is 4, 0. So I found 1 point that falls on the line. Then I will do another assumption. Let's say when y is equal to negative 2, when y is equal to negative 1, what is x? When y is equal to negative 1, I will have x minus 2 times minus 1, since y is now minus 1, is equal to 4. This will give me x plus 2 is equal to 4. X will be equal to 4 minus 2. Then x will be equal to 2. So you find the second coordinate, because when y is equal to negative 1, x is equal to 2. So the coordinate, or the point, is 2 minus 1. So you see that with this assumption, I've been able to find 2 points on this line. Now with these 2 points, I can plot them and draw a line. Okay, so I've done that for the first one. I'll do the same thing for the second one too, or the second equation, which is 2x minus y is equal to minus 1. So I'll assume another one. Let's say when x is equal to 0, what is y? So right now, x is now 0. So you have 2 times 0 minus y is equal to minus 1. So you have minus y is equal to minus 1. If minus y is equal to minus 1, then we can say that y is equal to 1. You divide both sides by minus 1, and you are going to get y is equal to 1. So that one too, I've been able to find the first point. The s coordinate is 0, the y coordinate is 1. So I found 1 point that falls on this line. I'm going to do another assumption. When y is equal to 3, what will be x? You have 2x minus y is now 3, so it's equal to minus 1. This will give us 2x is equal to minus 1 plus 3. 2x will be equal to 2. If 2x is equal to 2, you divide both sides by 2, and x will give you 1. So that one too, we have the x coordinate to be 1 and the y coordinate to be 3. So for this equation too, I have found 2 points that falls on the line. In the previous one, we found 2 points that falls on the line. We said we need at least 2 points. In this one too, we have found 2 points that falls on the line. So we can say that for the first equation, which is x minus 2y is equal to 4, the 2 points are 4, 0, 2 minus 1. And for the second equation, which is 2x minus y is equal to minus 1, the 2 points are 0, 1 and 1, 3. Now, after you found these 2 points, this is what you do. You pick your graph sheet and you choose a scale that can contain all your points. So make sure that the scale that you choose, you can plot these points on the scale. The points are 0, 1, 1, 3, 4, 0, 2, minus 1. Make sure that the points can be plotted on the scale. So I chose a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit on both axes. So this is my x-axis and this is my y-axis. Now you can see on your graph sheet that if you do it very well, your x-axis will be numbering from minus 5 to 5 and your y-axis will be numbering from minus 6 to 6. Now you plot these points on the graph sheet. So I'm going to plot them. The first point I'm plotting will be for this, and I'm plotting the first one, which is 1, 3. So 1 on the x-axis, 3 on the y-axis, and that will be here. So 1, 3. Then I'll plot the next one. The next one is 0, 1. So 0 on the x-axis, 1 on the y-axis. So it will be this point here. So with these 2 points, I can draw a straight line. So you draw a straight line joining them. And the name of this line is line 2x minus y is equal to minus 1. So that is the first one. Now you do the same thing for the second one here. So you plot the points. The first point I'm plotting is 4, 0. So 4 on the x-axis, 0 on the y-axis. So it will be on the same point. The second point I'll be plotting is 2 minus 1. So 2 on the x-axis minus 1 on the y-axis. So it will be here. That one, so you draw a straight line through it like this. And the name of that line is this, which is x minus 2y is equal to 4. Now you can see that those two lines will meet at a point. Those two lines will meet at the point, and yes, they are meeting at this point here. The x coordinate there and the y coordinate there are the answers to the equation that we have. So the x coordinate is the x answer. The point that they meet, when you trace it up to the x axis, you see that the coordinate there is negative 2. When you trace it to the y-axis, the coordinate there is negative 1. So the solution to these equations is negative 2, x is equal to negative 2, y is equal to negative 3. What this means is that from the graph, x is equal to negative 2 and y is equal to negative 3. So you can see from here that we have been able to use our graph or the graphical method to find the solution to these equations, which is 2x minus y is equal to minus 1 and x minus 2y is equal to 4. All you need to do is to assume some points, find them on the equation and plot them on a graph. You do that for both equations. They are going to meet at a certain point, or they are going to intersect at a certain point. The x coordinate there is the x value, the y coordinate there is the y value. So from the graph, we can say that x is equal to negative 2 and y is equal to negative 3. What you can do here is that try and solve this simultaneous linear equation using the elimination and substitution method. You will see that you are going to get x to be equal to negative 2 and y to be equal to negative 3. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In the next video, we are going to solve another example on simultaneous linear equations using the graphical method. Bye-bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we learned how to use the graphical method to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to take another example. So let's look at our question for this video. Now, for this video, our question is solve for x and y in 2x plus 3 plus y is equal to 3 and x minus 3y is equal to minus 4 using the graphical method. Just as we did in the previous video, in this video too, we are going to draw the graphs of these two lines. Then where they intersect, we pick our answers from there. So we pick the first one. 2x plus y is equal to 3. We need at least 2 points in order to plot this. So we assume the first one. We say that, let's say x is equal to 0. Now, when x is equal to 0, remember that I'm choosing 0 because 0 is easy to handle. Because when I multiply something by 0, that thing goes away. So if I pick x to be equal to 0, it means that I can make this whole thing disappear, then I'll find my y. So pick smaller values so that you can handle them. Don't pick bigger values. And also, when you pick smaller values, your scale will be something easier for you to handle. Don't pick bigger values such that your scale will be too difficult for you to choose. So if you pick smaller values, 1, you can handle them easily, and 2, you can choose a smaller scale so that you'll be able to deal with it faster. Remember, it is when in an examination, you need methods that will give your answers very, very quickly because you'll be dealing with time. So here, I'm picking x to be equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0, I'll multiply 2 by 0. X is here, so I'll replace it with 0 plus y is equal to 3. So y is equal to 3. So you see, because I picked 0, x has been eliminated easily and I can find my y. So the coordinate is x, which is 0, and y, which is 3. So 0, 3. Then because I need 2 points, I will assume another value and say when x is equal to 3. When x is equal to 3, you have 2 times 3 plus y is equal to 3 because 2 times x and x is now 3. So 2 times 3 plus y is equal to 3. This will give me 6 plus y is equal to 3. Y will be equal to 3 minus 6. So y is equal to minus 3. And I have my other point or my coordinate, which is 3 minus 1. X is 3, y is minus 1. So I have 0, 3, and 3. X is 3 and y is minus 3, not minus 1. So I have my 2 points, 0, 3, and 3 minus 1. You move on to the other equation. X minus 3y is equal to minus 4. So here, because y is multiplying 3, I'm going to assume that y is equal to 0 so that I will take this whole thing away. So when y is equal to 0, we will have x minus 3 times 0 is equal to minus 4. Now 3 times 0 is 0, so x is equal to minus 4. So straight away, I get my first coordinate to be minus 4, 0. Now you go on to the second one. I'll assume that y is equal to 2. Now when y is equal to 2, x will give us x minus 3 times 2 is equal to minus 4. This will give us x minus 6 is equal to minus 4. X is equal to minus 4 plus 6. So x is equal to 2. So when x is equal to 2, y is equal to 2 because we assume that y is equal to 2 and we have found x to be also 2. So you have the other point which is 2, 2. So with these 2 points, we can straight away go and plot it on the graph. So for the first equation, the points are 0, 3 and 3 minus 3. For the second equation, the points are negative 4, 0 and 2, 2. We can now plot this on our graph. So you choose a graph and you choose a scale on the graph and make sure that all your points are on the scale. So here, all the points that you'll be plotting, 0, 3, minus 4, and 2 are on the scale so that you can plot them. Okay, so after you've done that, you start plotting the points. So you plot 3 minus 3. So that's what is here. 3 minus 3. So you get the point here. Then you plot the other one, which is 0, 3. So 0 on the x-axis, 3 on the y-axis. So we have the points for the first one. 3 minus 3 and 0, 3. What do? You draw the line through it and you write the name on the line on it. The name of the line on it. So 2x plus y is equal to 3. You move on to the other equation. The first point is negative 4, 0. So negative 4 on the x-axis, 0 on the y-axis. Since it's 0, it will be on the same point. You move on to the other one, which is 2, 2. So 2 on the x-axis, 2 on the y-axis. So you plot your point here, 2, 2. Remember, in an exam, you don't have to use red pen. I'm just using the red to show you the points that I'm plotting. We have those 2 points here, so you draw a straight line through it. Now you see this straight line will intersect the first one. Once again, this is the name of the line, so you write it on top of it. X minus 3y is equal to minus 4. Now you see those 2 points are meeting here. So you pick the x coordinate and you pick the y coordinate. If you draw this on your graph and you read the x coordinate, you will see that you are going to get 0.7. Now you read the y coordinates, you are going to get 1.6. From 0 to 1 are 10 boxes. So it means that each box will give us 0.1. So since there are 7 boxes up to this point here, that's the point of intersection, you are going to have 0.7. The same way from 0 to 1 here, there are 10 boxes. So it means that each box is 0.1. So the middle here will be 1.5. Now the point of intersection is just the box above the middle, so you get 1.6. What this means is that if you solve those 3 equations, you are going to get x to be 0.7 and y to be 1.6. Once again, try and solve these 2 equations. 2x plus y is equal to 3 and x minus 3y is equal to 4 using the elimination or substitution method, and you find out that your x will give you 0.7 and y will be 1.6. Thank you so much for watching this video on solving simultaneous linear equations using the graphical method. Like and subscribe to this video. In the next video, we are going to learn how to solve word problems that require the use of simultaneous linear equations in two variables. Bye-bye. We are on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we considered how to use the graphical method to solve simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to study how to solve word problems that involve the use of simultaneous linear equations in two variables. So, let's look at our question for this video. So, we are going to tackle some practical problems involving simultaneous equations. Our question for this video is: the sum of two numbers is 29. Their difference is 17. Find the two numbers. Now, when you are given a question like this, you first have to identify the quantity that the question wants you to find. Here, we are being told to find some two numbers. So that is the main aim of what we are going to do, to find those two numbers. Because we don't know those two numbers, we are going to represent them by a variable. So we are going to use variables to represent the unknowns. So that's where we are going to begin from. So for our solution, we are going to allow the first number to be x and the second number to be y. So we are going to call the first number as x and the second number as y. Now, let's use this new information to tackle the question. The question says that the sum of those two numbers is 29. What that means is that if you add those two numbers, you are getting 29. Their difference is 17. What that also means is if you subtract one of the numbers from the other, you are going to get 17. So you see, with this information, we have been able to write the two equations for the question. Now that is what you want. First, you have to represent the unknowns in the question by a variable as we have here. So the first number is equal to x and the second number is equal to y. Now, after you've used unknowns to represent the variable, after you use variables to represent the unknowns, you then use these variables to write the equations for the question. With the equations, you can solve them and find the numbers. So now we have these two equations. The first one contains two variables. The second one contains two variables. So we need two equations to solve them, and that is what we have. We can now solve these equations simultaneously and find the first number, which is x, and the second number, which is y. We've learned how to solve simultaneous linear equations using the substitution method, the elimination method, and the graphical method. You can use any of these methods to find your x or y. I'm going to use the elimination method. So I'm going to eliminate y. Because I want to eliminate y, I'll add equation 1 to equation 2 because coefficient of y here is 1, coefficient of y here is 1. But the one in equation 1 is positive and the one in equation 2 is negative. So if I add them, y will be eliminated. In the video on elimination, using the elimination method, we explain this into details. So if I add equation 1 to equation 2, I'm going to get x plus y minus y is equal to 29 plus 17. This is going to give me 2x is equal to 46. Now, I'm going to simplify. So 2x is equal to 46. So you divide both sides by 2 and x will give you 23. This means that the first number is 23. Now, how do we find the second number, which is y? We know that from equation 1, x plus y is equal to 29. But we've now found x to be 23. So what do? We replace x with 23. This is going to give us 23 plus y is equal to 29. We make y the subject. Y will give us 29 minus 23, and this is going to give us 6. So x, which is the first number, is 23, and y, which is the second number, is 6. Now remember from the question, it said that the sum of those two numbers is 29, and this is true. If you add 23 to 6, you are going to get 29. It's also said the difference is 17. If you subtract 6 from 23, you are going to get 17. So it means that our answer is correct because it satisfies the condition that was given to us in the question. Thank you so much for watching this video. In the next video, we are going to take another word problem and we will solve it using simultaneous linear equations in two variables. Bye-bye. We are on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we learned how to solve word problems using simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to take another question and solve it using simultaneous linear equations in two variables. So let's look at the question for this video. The sum of two numbers is 8 and their product is negative 33. Find the two numbers. Once again, the aim for this question is to find some two numbers that we do not know. So what do? We are going to represent those two numbers by variables. So I will say that the A is equal to the first number and B is equal to the second number. Now, after you've used variables to represent the unknowns, what you do is that you now use these variables to write the equations for the question. The first part of the question says that the sum of the two numbers is 8. What that means is that if you add those two numbers, you are going to get 8. So A plus B is equal to 8. That is the first part. So I'll call that equation 1. The second part goes on to say that their product is negative 33. Product means multiplication. What that also means is that if you multiply those two numbers, you are going to get negative 33. So A times B will give us negative 33. So AB is equal to negative 33. So that will be equation 2. With these two equations, we should be able to find the first number, which is A, and the second number, which is B. Now, how do we solve this? In this type of simultaneous linear equation, you are going to use the substitution method. It's going to be difficult using the elimination method here, so you'll be using the substitution method. And in using the substitution method, we know that you make one of the variables the subject in one of the equation, then you will substitute it into the other equation. So this is what you are going to do. I'm going to make B the subject in equation 1. So if I make B the subject in equation 1, I'm going to get B is equal to 8 minus A, because equation 1 is A plus B is equal to 8. So if I make B the subject, I'll get B is equal to 8 minus A. Now, I will then substitute this new equation into equation 2. So I will substitute B is equal to 8 minus A into equation 2, which is AB is equal to negative 33. That means that wherever I see B, I'll replace it with 8 minus A. So it's going to be A times B, but B is now 8 minus A. Once again, because A is a single term, multiplying a binomial which is 8 minus A, I'm going to put the binomial in a bracket. If you watch the video on algebraic expression, we explained why you have to put the binomial which is 8 minus A into a bracket. Whenever you have a single term like this, which is A, multiplying a binomial, you put the binomial into a bracket. If you want more details about this, watch the video on algebraic expressions. So we have A into bracket 8 minus A, which is B, is equal to negative 33. So we replace B in equation 2 with 8 minus A. Okay, so we can now open the bracket and simplify. So if you are opening the bracket, you have a times 8 will give us 8a. A times a will give us a squared, but because it's minus, so we have minus a squared. Once again, if you watch the video on algebraic expressions, you understand that a times a will give us a squared. That was also explained there. And this is going to give us negative 33. Straight away, you will see that this is looking like a quadratic equation. So you arrange it in such a way that you can solve this quadratic equation. So this is how I'm going to do it. I will send minus a squared to that side so that it becomes positive. So I'll send minus a squared here, it becomes positive. I will send 8a also over there so that that also becomes negative. Then negative 33 is already there. So when minus a squared crosses to this side, it becomes a squared. When 8a crosses to that side, becomes minus 8a. Negative 33 is already there, so minus 33 is equal to 0. So this is a quadratic equation, and we have to solve this quadratic equation in order to get a, which is our first number. I explained how to solve quadratic equation in the videos on algebraic expressions. I explained it into details, so I'm going to go ahead and solve this quadratic equation here. If you want to understand how to solve an equation like this, please watch the videos on factorizing quadratic trinomials under algebraic expressions, and I've explained that into details there. So here you multiply the coefficient of a by negative 33. Coefficient of a squared is 1. If you multiply by negative 33, you are going to get negative 33. So we are looking for two numbers that when you multiply, you get negative 33. But when you add, you are going to get negative 11, negative 8a. Those two numbers will be 3 and 11. So we are going to make it 3 and minus 11, because 3 minus 11 will give us negative 8. 3 times minus 11 will give us minus 33. Once again, as I said, if you want to understand how to find these two numbers, 3 and minus 11, watch the video on algebraic expressions, factorization on algebraic expression. I explained to you how you can use your calculator to get these two numbers to solve this. Okay, so we replace negative 8a with 3a and minus 11a so that we can solve this. You go ahead and factorize. So you put negative a squared plus 3a into one bracket. Then you put 11a minus 33 into another bracket. Now, because we are putting it into a bracket and there's a negative sign here, we change the sign in the bracket. All this were explained in the video on quadratic expressions. If you watch it, you are going to understand this very, very well. I keep repeating that because they have all been explained there, and when you watch it, you understand how to solve these types of equations. Okay, so we go ahead and factorize. We are going to get a into bracket a plus 3, then minus 11 into bracket a plus 3 is equal to 0. When you factorize this, you are going to get a minus 11 in one bracket, then a plus 3 into at the other bracket. Okay, so how do we find a? We know that a minus 11 to one bracket, a plus 3 to another bracket is equal to 0. That means that a minus 11 is equal to 0. So a is equal to 0. A is equal to 11, sorry. And a plus 3 is equal to 0. So a is equal to minus 3. So we have two numbers for a, 11 and minus 3. Which one do we pick? Now, this is what we are going to do. You are going to find B. You are going to find B in each case. So in the first instance, we say that from equation 3, we know that B is equal to 8 minus A. But we have found A to be 11 in the first instance. So when A is equal to 11, we know that B is equal to 8 minus 11. And B will be giving us negative 33. In the same way, when a is equal to minus 3, we know that b will be equal to 8 minus 3, but a minus minus 3 will give us plus, so 8 plus 3, and b will give us 11. So you can see that from here, when a is equal to 11, b is equal to minus 3, and when a is equal to minus 3, b is equal to 11. What this means is that the two numbers we are looking for are minus 3 and 11, because in this case, one is 11 and the other is minus 3. So we can see that the two numbers are minus 3 and 11. And we are right, because the question said that when you multiply those two numbers, you get negative 33. Negative 3 times 11 will give us negative 33. It also says that when you add those two numbers, you get 8. And negative 3 plus 11 will give us 8. So our answers satisfy the equation or condition that was given to us in the question. Once again, you can see that in this video, we did a lot of simplification. We also solved quadratic trinomial. If you want to understand how to solve the quadratic trinomial, watch the video on factorizing quadratic trinomials and the algebraic expression. In those videos, I explained how to use your calculator to solve this type of question. I also explained how to present your answers. So watch that video and you understand how all these factorizations were done. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video, where we will take another question on word problems and we will use simultaneous linear equations to solve it. Bye bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we took an example on solving word problems using simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to take another question. So the question for this video is, the sum of the ages of two men is 108. One is 18 years older than the other. How old is the youngest? So here, the question wants us to find the ages of some two men, or the age of one of the men, who is the youngest. Okay, so in order to know the youngest, you will first need to find the ages of the two men. Then the one which is smaller will give us the age of the youngest. So because we want to find the age of two men and we don't know it, that is our unknown in this case. So we are going to let variables to represent the ages of these men. So we will say that let x equal to age of the oldest and y is equal to age of the youngest. I hope that is clear. We don't know the ages of these two men, so we are going to let variables to represent them, as we have been doing all along. So now that we have variables representing these unknowns, we can use this new information to tackle the question again. The first part of the question says that the sum of the ages of these two men is 108. What that means is that if you add the age of the oldest to the age of the youngest, we are going to get 108. So x plus y will give us 108. So that is equation 1. The question goes on to say that one is 18 years older than the other. One is 18 years older than the other. What that means is that if you subtract the age of the youngest man from the age of the oldest man, you are going to get 18. Because if I'm 18 years older than you, what it means is that if you take your age from my age, you are going to get 18. So the age of the youngest man is y. So if you subtract it from the age of the oldest man, which is x, you must get 18. So x minus y will give us 18. And that is equation 2. Now we have these two equations with two unknowns. So we can solve for x or y. Okay, so let's go on. How do we solve for this? We have these two equations here. We've learned how to solve simultaneous linear equation. You can use any of the methods to solve it. In this case, I'm going to use the elimination method and I'll be eliminating y. So I'll add equation 1 to equation 2. If I add equation 1 to equation 2, I'll have x plus y minus y is equal to 108 plus 18. So this will give me x plus y minus y is equal to 108 plus 18. Y minus y will be 0. X plus x from algebra, we know that that is 2x. And this is equal to 126 because 108 plus 18 will give us 126. Okay, let's move on. We are going to divide both sides by 2. So we divide the left hand side by 2 and we divide the right hand side by 2. We know this from linear equations. And x is going to give us 63. What that means is that the age of the oldest man is 63, or the oldest man is 63 years old. But the question told us to find the age of the youngest man, which is y. And how do we do that? You pick one of the equations. So I'm picking equation 1. From equation 1, we know that x plus y is equal to 108. But we just found x to be 63. So we can replace x with 63 so that we can find y. If we are replacing x with 63 in equation 1, we are going to have 63 plus y is equal to 108. So y will be equal to 108 minus 63, and that will give us 45. So what that means is that the age of the oldest man is 63 and the age of the youngest man is 45. So we can say that therefore the youngest man is 45 years old. Remember, the question said if you add their ages, you should get 108. So 63 plus 45 is giving us 108. Then the difference between their ages is 18. And 63 minus 45 is also 18. So it means that our answers are correct because it satisfies the condition that was given to us in the question. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below. Share this link with others if you find it helpful. See you in the next video where we are going to solve another question on word problems using simultaneous equations. Bye-bye. We are still on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we took an example on solving word problems using simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to take another example. So let's look at our question for the video. The question is, the sum of two numbers is -5. When twice the first number is added to the second number, the result is -2. Find the two numbers. Once again, we are being told to find two numbers. These are the unknowns, and because they are unknowns, we are going to represent them by variables. So I will say that let m equal to the first number and the second number n. So I'm calling the first number m and the second number n. So the first number is m and the second number is n. Now with this new information, let's tackle the question again. The sum of two numbers is -5. What this means is that if you add these two numbers, you should get -5. So m plus n is equal to -5. That is equation 1. Let's move on to the next part. It says that when twice the first number is added to the second number, twice the first number, what means that 2 times the first number. The first number is m. So 2 times the first number will give us 2m. So let's go on. When twice the first number is added to the second number, so 2 times m is added to the second number, which is n. That means that we are going to get 2m plus n. The result is -2. So from here we can say that 2 times the first number, which is 2m, added to the second number, so plus n, the result is equal to -2. So as soon as you let variables to represent the unknowns, you can now use the unknowns to form the equations in order to solve the question. So we now have our two equations. What do? We solve these equations simultaneously. So that's what we are going to do. You can use any of the methods to solve this. I'm going to use the elimination method. And this is what I'm going to do. From here, I said equation 2 minus equation 1. So I'm going to subtract equation 1 from equation 2. Now look at how the subtraction is going to be like. It's going to be equation 1 from equation 2. So I'll take the first element, the first term in equation 2, which is 2m, minus the first one in equation 1, which is m. I'll take the second one in equation 2, which is n, minus the second one in equation 2, which is n, is equal to the third one in equation 2, which is minus 2, minus the third one in equation 1, which is minus 5. So it's going to be minus 2 minus minus 5, and that is going to give us plus 5. Now you can see that after doing this, I have eliminated n from the equation because n minus n will give us 0. 2m minus m from algebra, we know that is going to give us m. Minus 2 plus 5 will give us 3. So when you get here, you can use any of the methods. You can use substitution, you can use elimination, and you are going to get the answer correct. So m is equal to 3, which means that the first number, which is m, is equal to 3. Now the task is to find the second number. We know that from equation 1, m plus n is equal to minus 5, and we just found m to be equal to 3. So if m is equal to 3, it means that we can replace all the m's with 3. So m, which is 3, plus n is equal to minus 5. If you make n the subject, n will give us minus 8. So we have found m to be 3 and n to be minus 8. So the two numbers are minus 3 and minus 8. Now you can see that these two numbers will also satisfy the condition that were given us. So it means that our answer is correct. Once again, you can use the substitution method in solving the simultaneous equation and you will still get the same answer. The most important thing is that first you have to read the statement carefully, then you use variables to represent the unknowns. Now with the variables, you form the equations, then you solve the equations simultaneously. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below. In the next video, we are going to take another question on solving word problems using simultaneous linear equations. Bye-bye. We are on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In the previous video, we learned how to solve word problems using simultaneous linear equations in two variables. In this video, we are going to tackle another problem. This is going to be the last video on the topic simultaneous linear equations in two variables. Let's look at the question for this video. 2 apples and a coconut cost 3 Ghana cedis 10 pesos. An apple and a coconut cost 2 Ghana cedis 60 pesos. Find the cost of 4 coconuts. What does the question want us to find? The cost of 4 coconuts. In order to find the cost of 4 coconuts, we need the cost of 1 coconut. There are two quantities in this question, coconuts and apples. So we will need the cost of an apple and the cost of a coconut. So that with that we can find the cost of 1 coconut. Then you multiply that by 4 in order to get the cost of 4 coconuts. So the unknowns in this question are 1, the cost of 1 coconut, and 2, the cost of 1 apple. We are going to represent that by variables. So we will say that let x equal to the cost of 1 apple and y to be equal to the cost of 1 coconut. These are the unknowns in the questions, so you use variables to represent them. As we've been doing all along, after you've read the question, identify the unknowns, use variables to represent the unknowns, and now use the variables to form the equations. So let's read the question again. 2 apples and a coconut cost 3 Ghana cedis 10 pesos. We now know that the cost of 1 coconut is x. So if the cost of one apple is X, sorry, and the cost of one coconut is Y. So if two apples and a coconut cost 3 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos, that means that 2 times X, that is 2 apples, so 2 times X, and a coconut plus Y will give us 3 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos. So we know that 2X, which is 2 apples, so 2 times X, plus a coconut, which is Y, will give us 3 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos, so 3.10, sorry. An apple and a coconut cost 2 Ghana cedis, 60 pesos. One apple is X, one coconut is Y. So X plus Y will give 2 Ghana cedis, 60 pesos, so 2.60. So I hope that is clear. You read the statements carefully. You identify the unknowns. The unknowns in this case are the cost of one apple and the cost of one coconut. So you represent those unknowns by variables as we've done here, X and Y. Then you use these variables to form equations based on the question. The question says that 2 apples and a coconut cost 3 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos. We know that the cost of one apple is X. So if 2 apples, we are going to get 2X. A coconut, which means one coconut, so plus Y, will give us 3 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos, 3.10. An apple, which is X, and a coconut plus Y will cost 2 Ghana cedis, 60 pesos, so it's equal to 2.60. With these two equations, we can solve for X, which is the cost of one apple, and Y, which is the cost of one coconut. Actually, we are interested in Y. When we find Y, we can multiply by 4 to get the cost of 4 coconuts. Okay, let's proceed. Now, how do we solve this? I'm going to use the elimination method. So I'm going to do it as equation 1 minus equation 2. If I'm doing equation 1 minus equation 2, we will have 2x minus x plus y minus y is equal to 3.10 minus 2.60. So 2x minus x plus y minus y is equal to 3.10 minus 2.10. This is going to give us x is equal to 0.50. So 2x minus x will give us x, y minus y will be 0, and x will give us 0.50 because 3.10 minus 2.60 is 0.50. Remember once again that x is the cost of one apple. What this means is that one apple costs 50 pesos. Okay, now how do we find y? We know from equation 2 that x plus y is equal to 2.60, but we just found x to be 0.50 as you can see here. So we will place x with 0.50. So 0.50 plus y is equal to 2.60. Y will give us 2.60 minus 0.50. So y will be equal to 2.10. What this means is that the cost of one apple is 0.50 and the cost of one coconut is 2.10. But this is not what the question told us to find. The question told us to find the cost of 4 coconuts. What is the cost of 4 coconuts? If one coconut costs 2.40, then 4 coconuts will cost 4 times 2. Sorry, if one coconut costs 2.10, then 4 coconuts will cost 4 times 2.10. I hope that is clear. The cost of one coconut is 2.10. So if you want 4 coconuts, you have to multiply the cost of one coconut by 4. So the cost of 4 coconuts will be 4 times 2.10 Ghana cedis, or 2 Ghana cedis 40 pesos, and that is going to give us 8 Ghana cedis 40 pesos because 2.10 times 4 will give us 8.40. So we can say that the cost of 4 coconuts is 8 Ghana cedis 40 pesos. Thank you very much for watching this video and all the videos on simultaneous linear equations in two variables. I hope these videos have been helpful. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. You can subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button. Share the link with others so that they can also enjoy this video. Bye bye.